The Schumer shutdown is in full effect, and unfortunately, Americans are really beginning to feel those negative effects. We bring back friend of the show, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, to dive into what's going on and how quickly we can actually get this government back open on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs. And if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry. We are committed to being good stewards of the environment. We are providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Texas Star Alliance. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, as I said in my teaser, the shutdown is still going on as of today. And I just cannot thank this guest enough for coming on now for, I think, her third time, a friend of the show, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. Congresswoman, how are you?
I'm frustrated. I'm irritated. I'm busy. I'm doing well. I think right now, all of us, at least all of us on the Republican side of the aisle, are just ready to get started, wanting to get back on the floor, wanting to get some of these votes passed, and are very frustrated that Democrats are going to continue to keep the American people hostage. I mean, welcome to day 23, right, of our shutdown, where we've seen such things as our hate American rallies going on.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, we had the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, announce that, yeah, they understand that this is going to be horrible for American families, but they're going to use it as leverage. This is what the Democrats are doing. They're acknowledging, finally, they're saying it out loud, that they know how horrible this shutdown is for families, especially those who are vulnerable, those who are struggling, those in the military, TSA agents, and air traffic controllers who are having to work around the clock. But they don't care because they're going to use it as leverage to be able to get this $1.5 trillion excessive spend for their pet projects, 200 billion of which is to pay for healthcare for illegal immigrants. This is what we're up against. This is why I'm frustrated, and I think this is what you're seeing from Democrats across the country. And I'm hoping that the American people are very vocal with them and let them know that they don't appreciate it.
Well, Congresswoman, the fact that they're trying to bring in another $1.6 trillion to a budget and all y'all want to do is just keep moving forward with the one that you have. And until you have a real budget created, it just blows me away. This is like the epitome of just playing politics. Is that correct?
They got what they wished, they got what they asked for. We offered them what they've already voted on 13 times. The difference is it was under the Biden administration, not under the Trump administration. The passing of a clean CR is something I don't want to do. It was a pulling of my teeth to just even have to vote for that bill. I don't like the spend. But it was a short-term spending gap in order to be able to get our conservative policies in order to get our appropriation bills finished. That is why I voted for it. And then Democrats still aren't satisfied. Even though that it's the same level of spend that they had under Biden, they're still not satisfied. They are really furious that we were able to pass our one big beautiful bill, that had something in there for every vulnerable American, that helped small businesses, that helped seniors, that helped law enforcement, that closed our border, and stopped sending billions of dollars of foreign aid, for pet Green New Deal projects. They're livid about that. And so part of what they're trying to do is stand up to take back what we already passed. It's not going to happen. This We are on the agenda that the American people supported in November, and we're going to keep fighting for it. And I hate that right now that the Democrats are using American families as leverage, but we can't cave into these childish and unrealistic and dangerous demands.
You mentioned dangerous demands. The Democrats, as far as I see, being on the outside, I'm not there. They're literally being dangerous with the American people. They're now, there's so many groups that have been shut down, as far as who's being paid, and it's hurting the American people, and it's hurting the middle class that they say that they're always fighting for. And it's like, how much more danger can they really be in? And are they putting these all of us Americans in as they continue with this Schumer shutdown, as I call it?
Yeah, well, apparently they don't seem to care. They don't care that the funding for the Women, Infant, and Children program is getting ready to dry up. They don't care.
Whoa.
Miraculously, this administration under President Trump is trying to figure out ways of being able to fund these programs, of being able to pay the military. And just today, they had an opportunity in the Senate to actually pay our military, to actually pay our federal employees, and they voted it down. 13 times now, the Democrats in the Senate have voted to shut down the government. On, we can do only so much. The House has done its job, and now we're going home. I'm back in DC. I've been back in DC this week. We have a lot more to do than just pass bills, but it's very frustrating because I've got a lot of bills that we have introduced. Whether or not that's dealing with cartels, whether or not that's dealing with making our highways safer,
Mhm.
looking at our integrity in our elections. We've got a lot of good bills that are up there, and we're not getting them passed because right now we got to wait to open up our government. And I don't think that's what we got elected for. I don't think the Democrats are doing their job. In fact, I think they're doing a lot of danger.
Well, I think this administration's working on the drug cartel thing a little bit on the side there with their continued war on drugs coming out of Venezuela. I'm glad you mentioned that you've been up in Washington D.C., that you have been working, because that's what we see from a lot of the Republicans like yourself, is that they are still staying engaged and focused and being adults and running this country the best way possible, while you see literally the Democrats going to these no king rallies right now. And it's almost like they are truly now pandering to the far left, to the very small percentage of Americans. And what is it about this less than 10%? And it's on both sides, right? Both sides have a far right and a far left. But why is the Democrat Party really pandering now to the far left end of the spectrum?
Yeah, I would say that they don't know what they stand for right now. And don't ask me to explain a Democrat's thought process because I can't do it. Why are they pandering to folks who are obviously not using common sense, or fairly, or are radical? I mean, when you're sitting here, standing up for men and women's sports, when you want an open border, when you don't care that illegal immigrants are on our roads and killing people right now with commercial driver's license that they should never have, when you are defending drug cartel members because this administration is actually targeting them. I don't know what they stand for, but I can tell you it seems like a lot of them who've been here for decades are doing it because they are afraid of losing in a primary. They are afraid of socialists like AOC running against them. Ask Chuck Schumer, why are you not supporting the CR that you just supported a few months ago? It's because you got beat down by that far leftist radical base, and you don't want to stand up to them again. That at least is what it seems like, because that's what they're saying.
Well, that's what it looks like. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's almost like they're not willing to stand up to just common sense. And you've been working so much. You've actually been back in the North Texas area doing a lot. What have you been doing? And you've been engaging so much lately with your constituents, as we say. What have you been up to?
I mean, a lot of us, we have Republicans right now. Some of us are in DC. I'm in DC this week because I had meetings. I had meetings with the Prime Minister of Australia talking about the rare earth mineral deals that was just struck. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. I'm on the Trade Subcommittee. So that's important. We met with a number of Mexican business owners that have huge investments in Texas. We want to talk to them, find out how they are doing during this shutdown, and ways of them being able to actually invest more and hire more Texans. We met with some of the ambassador to and the ambassador from Argentina and talk about their deals. We met with CEOs of businesses, specifically Vulcan, that was here, who was talking to us about the importance of making sure as we're going forward with a new USMCA trade deal that we make sure that it's got teeth in it so that they are not punishing and abusing our American businesses. These are the things that we're working on in DC. But there's a number of us who are when we are home, and I'm included when I am home, that we're meeting with constituents, we're making constituents calls, we're doing business tours, we're talking to them not only about what this shutdown means, but also legislation that we should be working on. One of those is I've got the Protect American Roads Act, and I've gotten a lot more information on that over the last couple of weeks. This is a bill that is aimed to making sure that people who have a commercial driver's license and are basically driving missiles down our highways are equipped to do that, that they speak English, that they are legally here, and that states like California and New York, who are giving away these licenses with no qualifications. In fact, we had an accident that just happened a few days ago, that the license was given to no name given, and that was shocking to me. But in Austin earlier, up 35, back in March, you had one of these drivers who was illegally here, who had a commercial driver's license, that plowed into cars, killing 5 people and injuring another 11. What I've been able to do is talk to some of the CEOs of trucking companies that are livid that this is happening because they follow the rules, they want to have safety. They're telling me the other side and making sure that as we're putting this legislation together, that we're looking at, making sure that we are looking at unintended consequences and we're writing it correctly, but we're also able to talk to some of our other lawmakers. I've been having conversations with Senator Mark Wayne Mullen up in Oklahoma, where they recently did a bust in just a short period of time. They busted 130 illegal CDL drivers
Oh, wow.
on their streets. So, and Mark Wayne Mullen is looking to get on that bill on the Senate side and support it. So, even though we're not in DC, we're still working for our constituents. And as you know, I think you carried it earlier. We had a tremendously successful job fair.
Yeah.
How do we find out who's looking for jobs? How do we get in contact? We are down here in our districts. We're talking to chamber members, business owners, people who are looking for new opportunities, looking for new jobs, and we put them together. And as a result, we had the largest job fair in the country
Yeah.
just this past.
Highlight that again. It was at the ballpark in Arlington. Is that correct? Yeah, highlight it. I'm glad you brought. I meant to ask you. Yes, highlight that whole thing. Well, that was awesome.
We learned from being in our district that this is something that we could do that would help thousands and thousands of people. It would help businesses be able to hire and invest back in our communities. And so we had over 500 businesses that were there, representing about 32,000 jobs. About 30% of these jobs were $100,000 and above paying salaries. We had 35,000 people come out that day looking for a job. I mean, this is a place to go if you've got opportunity, man. I come to North Texas.
Yeah.
We've got the businesses, we've got the talent, and our job was to help put them together. It's one thing, to pass a bill that we did before we left for the August recess to have job requirements as part of getting entitlements, but it's quite another to have where the rubber meets the road, getting these people jobs.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know of any other a congressional district that does it. And I know they definitely don't do it to that scope. But this is something that we learn. It's because the relationships that I have with the small business owners, with the chambers, and with individuals who are looking for employment, that we got this to be so successful. And by the way, it's not just bipartisan; it's completely nonpartisan. If you're willing to partner with us and help us advertise it, there's no cost to anybody to participate. Our office covers 100%. We just want people to be able to get jobs. We want people to be able to move to North Texas, and we want the businesses that pay taxes here and offer opportunities here to be able to thrive. And this is what we do when we're home in our districts.
Well, you've been at it now for such a good while. Really, just adding positive to North Texas. I know I've had to check a box once or twice when we vote, so I always thank you for that. And you mentioned nonpartisan. You do talk to the other side. You work with them, and I'd like for you to highlight that. It's like, hey, you have Democrats that that you talk to, that you're trying to figure out ways to move forward. Is that correct?
We are. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Earlier this week, I was on a panel talking about breast cancer, and I was with Debbie Dingell. She's a Democrat. but she has had personal experience with breast cancer. I have had personal experience with breast cancer, and we were trying to bring it to the forefront. So we're working on a bill that women who actually have who have cause to get a mammogram, not just for a but are going to need diagnostic work, are going to need an ultrasound, that we can get it covered. And so I told my personal story. She talked about it. And these are things that should not be political. They should not be partisan based. There's a lot of issues like that we face around the country that we could be particularly helpful if we can just get rid of some of the nasty rhetoric and work together as a team. But you can't do that. We can't push these bills through if the government's closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as much as I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I'd also like to stress to the Senate, get your act together, get back to work, and do what you have done. Vote for a CR 13 times and allow us to open back the floor. Because there's a lot of good bills. A lot of them are bipartisan that we can get passed through that I believe would be a huge benefit to the American people.
Well, as we continue on, and with the government still shut down, and this being, I always try to make this an oil and gas show as best I can. Oil prices are down right now,
Yeah,
and
they are. I
um,
mean, I don't know if you saw my post earlier, but I had a post earlier this week that showed some gas prices in North Texas.
okay,
And,
yes, yes, ma'am.
58 a gallon, and we're like, whoo! I mean, that hits everybody across the country when we have lower gas prices. And why?
Mhm.
Because you've got bills that are cutting through the red tape, that are looking at being able to produce more American freedom energy, and that we've got a president who, instead of demonizing an entire industry, talking about how he is going to attack them with further regulations, and how basically his goal is to eradicate that entire industry, is supporting them, is propping them up, and is giving them the acknowledgement of the need and the demand in the US. That goes a huge way. As you're seeing, we've got more production now than ever before, and prices have dropped.
Well, as this continues, because obviously the price of a barrel has continued to drop with the historic ceasefire agreement that we have, would you be in favor of a certain price that maybe if we hit, and I'm just going to throw out a number, like, so I'm not trying to hold, but like if we got down to $50, would you be willing to vote to fill up the strategic petroleum reserves?
That's something that should never have been on drained in the first place, so that we saw under the Biden administration. It was so short-sighted and so dangerous, especially with all of the different wars that he was encouraging across the country, across the planet. I absolutely would be in favor of starting to do that. I think that has to happen. There's a reason why we've got the strategic oil reserve. It's if we do have some catastrophic wars where we're not able to produce, we're not able to get meet the demand that we need. That demand obviously would, depending on what happens in other countries, that could possibly increase our demand even further. We need to make sure that we're preparing for those emergencies. And so yes, I would definitely be in favor of making sure that we're getting those reserves back up.
Well, with everything going on, can we talk about that, the historic ceasefire, and what your thoughts were about that, if you don't mind?
Which one?
Uh,
Which one of the oops are you talking
That's
about? Are you
true.
talking
Let's talk about the our brothers and
West?
sisters. Yeah, yeah, our brothers and
No,
sisters in
well,
Israel. Yeah, and has he really done 8 or 9 ceasefires across the world?
yes, and he's still, I mean, he's trying to bring Putin to the table right now with what's going on with the war in Ukraine. And he is a man by his word. He knows how to negotiate, and when negotiations are going poorly, and he doesn't believe that both parties, are there in earnest negotiating, he doesn't shy away from just getting up and taking himself out of the table. It's exactly what we saw Ronald Reagan do, and it worked. So we'll see what happens with Putin, but looking at Israel as well, and in Gaza, being able to bring home the hostages finally, and being able to negotiate a ceasefire. And you've got still socialist Democrats across our country who won't give him credit for it. But I don't believe that would have happened unless he forced these folks to the table and said, look, we need to have peace. What can we do to get there? And having the patience to be able to go through the motions. And so, yeah, I give him a tremendous amount of credit. And again, we're seeing his critics, people who have Trump derangement syndrome, who are calling him all sorts of horrible names, saying how he is encouraging these wars. And I think you've got a president who's probably the strongest advocate of peace around the world that we've ever seen,
Yeah.
and he's getting results.
It is the epitome of peace
Right.
through strength. And
Yes.
I would have never guessed it'd be President Trump to be the one to do that. Yeah, a very presidential man. Again, very surprised, as I've told my good friend George P. Bush a lot of times. In 2016, his dad was my guy until that first debate, and it was over after that. And but he's done a very good job. Um, as we said in the beginning, we're on day 23 of this Schumer shutdown. Congresswoman, the way you and I have been talking today, it doesn't sound like we're going to get anywhere soon. Is that the case? Are you hoping? Is there rumors that maybe we can get it done sooner than later?
Look, I mean, if Republicans caved tomorrow and they said, okay, we'll give in to the $1.5 trillion demand, and we know that we're getting up to $38 trillion in debt, but sure, we'll give you that. We could end it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what any of us should do. We have an opportunity to be able to cut and resize government properly. We have an opportunity to look at our health insurance and our health care, because they're not the same thing, but our health programs, to make sure that they are actually delivering. We have an opportunity to do all of these things. What we can't do is hold the American people hostage because you've got childish, horrendous demands from the Democrats. So we need them to come to the table, vote for something they've already voted on 13 times in the past, open the government back up, and let's have adult conversations. One of the biggest arguments that they're trying to make right now is for a bill that they passed, deadlines that they voted for, with the expansion of some of these insurance premiums costs the federal government is paying for. On average, about $517 per person that's on it, just to give you an idea. And where does those dollars go? They go to insurance companies, health insurance companies that have seen 230% profits. They are going to healthcare companies that still deny a third of all healthcare claims. There is no accountabilities for these health insurance companies to look at decreasing costs, increasing quality, or making sure that people are actually getting the care that they are paying for. The only thing that has happened is those dollars that have been increased that the government is spending is just making them richer and richer. So for a Democrat Party that seems to claim that they care for working Americans and they want them to have the care, the only thing that they've done is enriched health insurance companies that to continue to deny care for those people who are paying for their service. If they cared about the health and well-being of Americans, they'd get back to work and they would actually start having legitimate conversations with us for a bipartisan bill.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one other question, and it's about tariffs. The tariffs have now been, some of them have now been in effect for several months. Are we actually seeing a positive of debt being paid down and just income coming in off of these tariffs from other countries?
We have gotten about $400 billion now, that the country has collected as a result of the tariffs. They're expecting over half a trillion by the end of this year. That money, currently some of it's being used to pay some of the costs right now during the government shutdown.
Wow.
I'd like to be able to see it go to debt. I think that's very important. I'm putting together a budget. I'm the budget chair for the Republican Study Committee, and we're putting together a budget that actually has some of those dollars going to pay down our debt. That's what we need to be able to do. I'm on legislation right now that would support that those dollars are going there, but we are collecting it. And ironically enough, as much grief as this president has gotten that it's going to increase inflation, twofold, we have not seen an increase in inflation as a result of the tariffs. Now, as you also know, this administration has been going hog wild on trying to get its best trade deals that it can. The former administration didn't do anything. I mean, they were moot when it came to trade deals. This administration is threatening the tariffs, is putting the tariffs out, but is also one by one getting these trade deals that benefit the American businesses, benefit the American people, and they're going to try to get as many of those resolved before the end of the year as they possibly can. I had a call with Ambassador Jamison Greer earlier this week. He told me about some of the fantastic things that they're getting done. He was actually on his way over to Asia, to continue discussions with trade talks. But the tariffs are one thing. But for 80 years now, we put aside tariffs. That's really was the beginnings of the funding for our government.
Mhm.
We put them aside because after World War II, we wanted these countries that were so badly damaged to be able to rebuild. It's been 80 years. He had been taken advantage of to the point where we had a massive deficit. We've got to make sure that we understand that, look, we have a valuable market. You got to put a price on that market to be able to do business with the United States. By the same token, we also have an international economy, and we have to make sure that we're working with countries. But when we see countries like China completely taking advantage of that, and look, we did it to ourselves. And back in 2000, when we entered into a trade agreement with China,
Yeah.
we basically pushed all of our manufacturing offshore into China. Yeah, the thought back then was, oh, China is going to be all of a sudden much more of a democrat country. It didn't work. And now we need to reverse those policies, recognize that we need to have manufacturing back in the States, much safer, and much it's a national security issue. You're just looking at what we were missing during COVID years.
Mhm.
We need to bring that back. Those are good jobs. They're good paying. We need to have it for national security. We've got an ability to do that. But all of this is through trade and tariff deals.
Golly. Well, Congresswoman, you have just been on a trail right now, and just kicking butt and taking names across that trail. I can't thank you enough. I know as we kind of wrap up, I just want to kind of give you the platform just to talk about anything else that you want to say, because as you know, we always try to line up what we're going to talk about. But if there's anything else that you want to share with everybody out there, please do.
I have been hearing a lot about how, well, Republicans have a majority in the House, they have a majority in the Senate. We should be getting this stuff done. I'd remind people the work that gets done in the House is by simple majority. In order to get these bills out of the Senate, you need 60. We only have 53 Republicans. So keep that in mind that while we can prevent some bills from actually seeing the floor in the Senate, in order to get them passed, we need 60 votes. But I would also say that the job of a Congress member is not always in DC. That's another fallacy that I've heard is, oh, they're on vacation. They're not in DC, they're on vacation. No, we're not. We are not on vacation at all. Just because we are not on the floor voting does not mean that we are not meeting with constituents, that we are not trying to do what we can to push our bills through, writing bills on and really working on our casework when we're home. So I would encourage people to contact their Congress member if they need help. Right now, it's tough because these agencies are closed. We need to work on getting the government back open, but it is a very intricate job that we do, and not everything is done in DC. It isn't, the DC is not the center of the universe for me. It is our folks in District 24 and in the state of Texas. So I appreciate the work that you do, and I really thank you for the opportunity to be able to share all this information.
Well, Congresswoman, again, you have been just so busy, even during this shutdown, is what it's called, the Schumer shutdown, that literally took, I think, 2 weeks for me to get you, because you have been meetings after meetings and visiting with so many people. So for you to take time to do this episode, I cannot thank you enough. And just keep up the good fight, and definitely give it a little extra for oil and gas if you can for me, please.
Will do. Will do. You take care.
Thank you so much. And to all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you as always. Definitely reach out to your congressman or woman, whoever it is, whatever side, and let them know what you've got going on. And we'll see you again on another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, The Crude Truth would like to thank today's sponsors: LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Sandstone Group, Exec Crew, Texas Star Alliance, Pecos Country Operating, and Real News Communication Network.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.